Hello, welcome to chapter 11 of the third treatise, The Temptations of the Human Experience. Here we are, in the human experience. Yay for us! Those who exist in the house of illusion are aware of the personal self alone and believe the personal self to be who they are. Further, they believe the personal self to be the truth of the statement, I am. Of course, we recognize this because that's where we were. We thought that the personal self was it. Verse 2. For those existing in the house of truth, I am has become something larger, an all-encompassing recognition of the unity of all things with which the self coexists in truth and peace and love. So there's a recognition that, yeah, there's this personal self, which is just, a representation in this human experience of who I am. But who I actually am is so vast. I'm connected to all that is. So now he compares the house of illusion and the house of truth. So the house of illusion is a structure, meaning it was built. It was built by the ego in order to perpetuate the idea, a false idea, that we were separate. The house of truth, on the other hand, isn't a structure because it wasn't built. It's true. It's a dwelling place. So it is discovered. It's a place where we hang out. The house of illusion was meant to shield from fear. I mean, that's what a structure is anyway, isn't it? To shield us from the weather, to shield us from other people who might see what we're doing, to keep us out of danger. That's what a house is for. But the house of truth, there's no need for protection because we don't live in fear. We recognize that whatever is absolutely perfect. We embrace it and love it. We don't try to control it anymore. And the house of illusion is the stage of the drama for the human experience. It's the plot for the movie. It's the stage on which the illusion, the dream, happens. And the house of truth is an awareness. This is a present moment awareness of a new reality. It's not about a story. It's a present moment consciousness. Verse 7. This is what you are called to do. Be aware that the love of God lives within you. Okay, again, the word aware. That can only happen in the present moment. Am I aware of it now? Ask yourself now. Can I be aware in this moment that the mighty love of God lives within me? Live within the peace of God. In order to do that, you've got to drop all that bitterness and blame we've been talking about, because there's no peace in that. There's no peace in conflict. And live by the truth. So whenever we're talking about the truth here, there's an automatic human tendency, and I know I repeat this, but that's because it needs to be repeated, to think that the truth is a set of principles. Because that's what we've always thought of. Well, that's not the truth. That belief system isn't right. This belief system is right. This is not a belief system we're talking about. The truth is what is. What's really true right now. What's happening right now. And if you stop and ask yourself what's really true right now, and you allow the answer to come to you, you'll find that what's really true is vast. Vast. It doesn't have any edges. Or another way of saying that is you are love. You live in peace and you live by truth. You live by what's actually true in this moment right now. The question of how to live in the house of truth is best addressed by concentrating on living according to the truth. Verse 10. To realize the difference between truth and illusion is not to call one right and the other wrong, but to simply recognize what they are. So how do we recognize what truth is? We just ask ourselves, what's really true here? What's true for me in this moment? What's true for me right now? That's truth. There are two temptations of the human experience that work together. Good old Simon Cowell here, the ultimate judge, is why I chose him. So these are the temptations that he's talking about in this chapter. And he says they're kind of a package deal. One is the temptation to judge yourself, others, what's happening in this moment, what happened in the past, the story, the movie, the human experience, just judging. And the temptation to accept anything other than truth as real. So if we spin a story and we're not in our present moment, what's true for me right now mode, then we're looking at anything other than truth as being real. And he tells us, you are no different from Jesus, Savior of the world. You're no different from the Savior of the world. Ooh. Or from any of your brothers and sisters. There's no difference among any of us. We're all the same. We are all sparks of the creative impulse that are having this wonderful human experience, creating something new. Verse 12, all exist in the house of truth. The house of illusion exists within the house of truth because it's where your brothers and sisters think they are. Choice and the awareness of the power of choice that exists within is all that differentiates one from the other. The only difference between you and Jesus is the fact that he chose to be aware of the power of his choice, and he chose something else. And that's the only thing that differentiates you from your brothers and sisters that are still all caught up in the world and the bitterness and the victimhood and the craziness, is that you are becoming aware of the power of your choice, and you're making another choice. You're choosing for love instead of fear. Verse 13, you must not see your brothers and sisters within the house of illusion, but must see them where they truly are, within the house of truth. So this is important, because if you encounter other people and you think, oh, poor them, you know, they're living in the house of illusion, and you see them as being lost in the house of illusion and suffering. And for those of you who are Course in Miracles students, this will sound familiar to you. What he's asking here is that you recognize that they're really safe, they're really fine, they're really whole, because you know that the house of illusion is contained within the house of truth. And that's where they really are. And, you know, you have your own will where you can choose. You've got the power of your own choice, and so do they. And they're allowed to have their own experience. They don't have to have the same experience as yours. You're experiencing your own hologram from your point of view, and it's perfectly fine for them to have their experience from their point of view. There's nothing wrong for them either. They can have that experience as long as they choose, just as you did. When you see the house of illusion, your judgment makes it seem real. So when you see, oh, poor them, now you're just helping them stay there. Verse 15, you will, of course, continue to be aware that very few realize that they exist in the house of truth. You will, in truth, for quite some time, be striving to remain aware that even you have changed dwelling places. I mean, this is the work we're doing, just becoming conscious of the ego thoughts that are remaining and dropping them, releasing them, being willing to let those go. Don't forget that what was made can be useful to promote recognition of the truth. Don't be afraid to use anything available to you within the house of illusion, like resources, communications, or the examples that I gave. And I think that what he was trying to tell us here is, you don't have to completely unplug from the world and go live off the grid in order to do this. You can follow that gentle voice and use whatever resources are here within the house of illusion, within this world that we've made, within this play, this hologram you're living. Go for it. Have fun. Nothing's bad. Nothing's wrong. You don't have to withdraw. And then at the end of this chapter, he says, now be careful about righteousness. And if you saw that movie with Meryl Streep in it, where she's the very picture of righteousness in that movie, self-righteousness. It's the personal self that would use these ideas in order to feel self-righteous. So if you're starting to feel like, yeah, well, it sucks to be them because they really think that this is real. There's self-righteousness going on there, and your ego has just co-opted your experience. So I would encourage you to pay attention to that, and if you see that come up, just drop it. You're no better than anybody else. You're just having your experience from your hologram, and this is your time frame. Good for you. Celebrate it. Have fun with it, but don't think you're any better. Verse 16, you are not right and others wrong. This temptation will not long be with you, for once the old thought system is thoroughly translated to the new, such ideas as right and wrong will be no more. So just understand, that's not going to be, this is a really temporary situation. And I'm sure that you're in the process of moving thought systems right now. And just recognize that if that comes up, if you start to feel righteous or better than anybody else, just recognize that it's bogus and put it back down. Anyway, thank you for joining me on this journey. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing that we're doing and that we're experiencing. And we'll do more of it together soon.